How would you like to have the skill to be able to make confident and competent offers in real estate investment properties? Sounds cool, right? Well, that's exactly what we're going to be covering today as we actually comp a property. I think I promised you guys I would do that the last time I was on a video. So anyway, my name is Curtis Vaughn, and I help entrepreneurs and intentional families break free from the grind and build lasting wealth through real estate. How's that sound? Hope it sounds fantastic. Anyway, the skill of being able to recognize a great deal, make a great deal, or make a great deal. Let me say it again. The skill to be able to recognize a great deal or make a great deal is the number one skill set in real estate investing. What do I mean by make a great deal? You know, any property out there, there's almost always a number. Even if there's let's say there's a property on the market for $100,000, it's a mediocre deal, right? If you offer them $50,000 and they accept it, it might become an amazing deal. So you see, a mediocre to terrible deal can become a fantastic deal just by the offer that you place on it. So comping and understanding what the actual value should be cannot be understated. You can't be a real, actual, live real estate investor without being able to hone this craft and about being able to understand what something should be priced at. You know, and there's some subjectivity to that. It's not 100%. It's not like at $79,000 is a terrible deal, and at $80,000 it's a fantastic deal. I don't think it's not that cut and dry all the time, but there is a general range that most investors will probably find themselves in, and you kind of want to be on the back end or the smaller end of that range whenever possible. So you won't be overpaying your properties. Now, before we get started, let's set some general rules. These are not exhaustive. These are some of the most critical rules when it comes to comping a property. So you shouldn't comp, let's say the property is at 123 Main Street. You shouldn't be looking at properties, if you can help it, more than half a mile away. You don't want to be looking at a property 1, 2, 3, or 4 or 5 miles away, if you can help it. There are some situations where you just can't find local data, and in those situations, you kind of might have to break the rules a little bit. But understand, anytime you break one of these rules, you're not necessarily wrong, but you might be less accurate. That's the reality. So try to stay within these marks. So if there's a property at 123 Main Street, draw a circle around that about a half mile, and that's where you want to find your comparable properties. When I say comp, that's what I mean. Comparable properties. Comp is short from comparable. So you're looking for comparable properties. So like I said, half mile radius around your subject property. Subject property meaning the property you're actually interested in. All right, so you also want to be in the same or similar subdivision. You don't want to cross, even if, let's say within that half mile radius, you got some mid-price homes, and then a block or two over, you have some luxury homes. You can't, I've done this myself, don't do this. You can't use comps from a luxury home to justify a higher price on your more modern or more average style house. Doesn't work like that. You can't get away with that. You're not tricking anybody but yourself. I'm sorry, everybody can see right through that. So yeah, make sure that when you're pulling your comps, your comparable properties, that they're in a similar style of neighborhood. You don't go looking at the luxury property over there and saying, it's within a half mile, and get your mouth starts salivating. You think, yeah, it's an amazing deal. When the reality is you got to look at what's closer by. Obviously, you guys. So that's what I mean. You got to use some context. You got to get used to the nuance of it all, because there are certain times where you got to deviate from the rules, and like the half mile rule can be broken just by what's in that half mile radius. So just keep that in mind. Also, the next rule, you don't want to go plus or minus 250 square feet in size. So let's say your property you're interested in, the subject property, let's say it's about 1,000 square feet. You don't want to be going below 750 square feet. You don't want to find a property that's like 600 square feet and then compare it to yours. And you don't want to buy something that's, let's say, 1,500 square feet compared to your property. You want to stay within that 250 plus or minus range, So the reason why that is because as properties get bigger or smaller, the price per square foot changes. So if you try to compare your 1,000 square foot property to a property that's 3,000 square feet, you are in for a world of hurry. Actually, it might work in your favor because, smaller properties have a larger price per square foot usually. But in any case, that's neither here nor there. So you want to stay within 250 plus or minus square feet. You want to stay within that range. So hopefully that helps. What's up next? It must be the same type of property. What do I mean by that? It means if I'm looking at a ranch, I'm going to try to find a ranch style house. You want to compare apples to apples, people. You don't want to compare apples to oranges, not the same type of fruit. You don't want to compare an apple to a banana. I like both, but they're not the same. I like them both for different reasons. But when it comes to comping, you want to find apples and compare apples to apples. You want to find a ranch. If you're looking at a ranch, you want to find a duplex. If you're looking at a duplex, you want to find a triplex. If you're looking at a triplex, also number of stories can impact it. Even if it's let's say it's a 2-story home, you don't compare it to a 2-story home. You don't want to compare it to a 3-story home or a ranch. You want to think as similar. It's like being a kid. What's like my property? That's all it is. What's as similar to my property as possible? Ideally, the perfect comp, just so just have it in your brain, would be the house next door that sold 3 weeks ago. That's exactly the same model as my house. Like that's in the perfect world. Like that's the best comp ever. Hopefully it's sold for a lot. But yeah, the perfect comp is like the house next door that's built the same year as my house. Looks at the same square footage, looks identical, and that'd be the perfect ideal comp in the perfect world. But that rarely ever happens. You'd be surprised how little that ever happens. It's not very often. So you gotta learn the nuance of these things. Also, the year build. You don't want if you can help it. I know. I like to be a perfectionist. Like I consider myself somewhat of a perfectionist. I like the things just to be perfect, and comp is not one of those things. It will leave you frustrated. Like one of these things, I guarantee you, almost always, one of these rules you're gonna have to break, usually in comping. We're gonna actually do a demonstration, a quick demonstration, not long, but we'll dive into an actual demonstration here in Charlotte, North Carolina. But in any case, you must be within, you should strive to be within plus or minus 10 years of the date the year your property was built. So let's say it was built in 2000. You don't want to look at a property older than 1990 or newer than 2010. You want to stay within that range, as much as you can. Look, the real world, it may or may not happen for you like that. But ideally, in a perfect world, you'll be able to find something within that range, that date range. So those are my comping tips. It's, like I said, it's not exhaustive, but you follow these, you'll get a good sense of what your property's worth, definitely. Now, some general advice for new investors. Now, just because you can buy virtually and buy any market in the United States, I've looked at properties all over the country. Just because you can doesn't mean you necessarily should. If you're a brand new investor, I would highly recommend you find something in your local backyard. Find something in your neighborhood. Find a property and look at properties and become an expert in your community. There's some key advantages in doing that. One, just by repetition and looking at deals over and over again, you're going to learn and get a sense for what the price should be for a property in a particular neighborhood. I've met other investors who have it down to they know what street it is, and based on the street and square footage, they can just tell you what they would pay for that property. Sight unseen. You can get that good at it. I'm not there because I worked all over the place. Don't be like me. Dial it in. Pick a local market. Become a super scientific expert right down to the street. Get to know your streets. Drive those streets. Get out in your car. Explore those neighborhoods. Get to know those local markets. A couple of advantages for you. First of all, you'll get a good feel for what the prices should be in that market. Like I said before, you'll get a great feel for what the price should be. Eventually, maybe you'll get down to the block. Tell me what street it's on, and you can say, "Hey, man, I'll pay you $75,000 for that property." And you just know, just from repetition. You want to be able to get that good at it. You can get that good at it. So yeah, definitely, you have the advantage of being able to drive that neighborhood. You know what schools are going on or in that neighborhood. You'll know if Amazon's building a factory or warehouse nearby. You'll have all the inside information if you stay up to date on those type of things. And you can just know, like, hey, you know what city council's doing. You know what their plans are. It just being an expert on that level it'll make life a lot easier for you. But again, you can branch out and buy property wherever you want. But if you're just starting out, I highly recommend you specialize in your local market. Also, there's some leverage that you can get out of it too. And in terms of like people, as you're working in the local market, you become better and better known. As you do great deals and have a great relationship, you'll start to meet fantastic real estate agents that you can want to work with on a regular basis. They can refer you deals, pocket listings. I think we talked about that in a few videos back, but they can give you a pocket listing, something that is not on the market yet, that they just got under contract, and say, hey, John or Jane, I know they are great investors. And guess what? Real estate agents like to pick the path of least resistance. So if they know you get it done, they're going to call you before they even put it on the market. Because guess what? They want to make their commission, and they want to know they can do it with somebody who's safe and reliable and comes through. So if you're that person, you're that guy or gal, you can absolutely make those connections and build those relationships. Another great thing, title companies. You'll get to know the local title companies, the ones you like to work with, just from repetition. And you won't be guessing who's a good title company to work with. I can't stress this enough. I think I did a whole video on this a while back. But yeah, you don't want to mess with the wrong title company. So I'm not gonna keep harping on that. But yeah, definitely you'll start to get to know, get a feel for these guys get it done. These guys are responsive. They treat me well, treat my sellers well. And so yeah, you want to have those in your back pocket. General contractors, you'll get to know those guys. Maybe like not even general contractor, but even like that guy who does the plumbing or the guy who does the painting. You'll get to know those teams that do a really great job that you really like. And again, it'll just make your life easier. Property managers, you'll get to know great property management companies in your local market, and that again will make your life so much easier. All right, so let's dive in to our property for today. All right. Here is our subject property for today. I just picked this at random. I had nothing to do with property. I'm just picking it just for demonstration purposes. So please forgive me, if I don't know a whole lot about this deal in particular, but we're gonna look at this property, analyze it, and see. Let's figure out, is $391 a decent price for this property? Does it make sense? My guess is it probably does, but we'll just check it out. We're just doing this for demonstration purposes. All right, so this is, we're not gonna worry about the address too much, but this is a really good shape property. Always want to look at the photos. First thing you want to do, you definitely want to look at the photos. So this is on market. If you're working off market, you would just ask the seller, hey, tell me about the condition of the property. You would just actually ask them. And is a super duper tip. This is a writer downer, as Myron Golden would say. But you can always ask the seller to send you property. If you're ever working off market, you don't have photos of the property, you can ask the seller to take cell phone photos of the property. Boom. And have them text it to you. Boom. Anyway, that's a hack for you. But anyway, we'll keep going. But this is in fantastic condition, brand new. Looks extremely well maintained. So, yeah, nothing to see here, people. Great condition property. All right, so this is about 1,901 square feet. I'm going to plug that into what I call COMPUTRON. Anyway, COMPUTRON is my software that I came up with after thousands of hours of comping deals and quite frankly spent a lot of money getting trained by other high-level investors and learning from them, and also a lot of trial and error. It took me a long time. And guess what? Hey, I'm a nice guy. All the thousands of dollars I spent on developing this and thousands of hours, I'll bypass that and let you guys have it for free. Link in the description. Check it out. Download if you'd like to. I'm a nice guy like that. Hopefully you like it and enjoy it. But anyway, COMPUTRON is going to help us determine a good offer price for this property. Okay? It can get more complicated. It can handle a lot. It can handle properties that are in distress. I personally use it a lot for properties that are in distress, but this one, doesn't look like it needs a lot of work. So we'll assume it doesn't need a lot of work. So what I would generally do is plug the information into COMPUTRON first. So let's just plug in, I can put the whole address. All right. And this particular property is 4 beds, 3 baths, 1,900 square feet. So I just plug that information in here. 4 beds, 3 bathrooms, 1,901 square feet. Yep, and that's what it said. What year is it built? The cool thing about comping is that you find most of the information inside of Zillow. I don't think I said that during this. Right, I don't think I've said that yet, but you can absolutely find most of the information that you need via Zillow. All right. This one was built in 1987. So that means I need to find something, if I can, possibly, between the years, that's built between the years 1997 and 1977. So somewhere in that ballpark, in that range. So let's put the year built right here, 1987. All right. Now, here's where we start to comp. One thing I'm looking at when I'm looking at this property is I'm looking for the neighborhood boundaries. I don't want us to go anywhere outside this major highway right here, and I really don't want to cross this major road right here. Ideally, I would find something in this part of the neighborhood, right around this Rocky River Road area, maybe even up this creek, and kind of staying within the University City Boulevard boundary, if I can. If nothing has sold in this past 6 months in that little tiny little area, then I'll expand my search out a little bit beyond there. But if I can, by all means, I'm going to try to find a property right here in this area right here. That's my first bet. That's my best bet right there. So all you gotta do is switch it to sold. Right now I'm looking at for sale, and I want to find solds. Oh, we are in luck. We got plenty of properties there in this little boundary. Let me draw an actual boundary marker so I don't lose my spot. Bam. All right, apply that. All right, so now, only thing I'm seeing over here, properties that sold in that little area. What I also want to do, if I can, limit my search. I don't want to find anything. I would like to stay within 6 months. Oh, that's another thing. I don't think I said that rule earlier. You don't want to look. You want to look, depending on the how slow or fast things are moving in the market. You want to try to not look past anything older than 6 months old. Anything that's old 6 months, longer than 6 months ago, you want to try to avoid those properties. The older that comp is, the less reliable it is, because prices change. In 6 months, prices can shift up or down. So the more recent comps, those are the ones you want to focus on. So let's try to narrow that down. Sold in the last, let's try 90 days, see what happens. Apply that. We got some goodies. Oh, let's take a look at this one. All right, we got a property here and we got a property here. They're both 4 beds. You know what? I think this is actually our, I guess this might have been a flip. So I guess somebody bought this at $352. Our actual subject property was purchased at $352 and had to turn around selling it for whatever reason. Like I said, I have nothing to do with this deal. I'm just finding this out in real time like you are. But anyway, so I'm not going to compare it against itself because obviously they're asking $391 now, I think. So, all right. So sometimes when you click on something, Zillow will say something else. Like this property obviously sold at $344 is what I'm seeing right here. But when I click on it, it's saying it's for rent. So I'm just going to assume it sold for $344. I can look at the history here and see. Boom, boom, boom. Yep, sold in April for $344,000. And let's see the condition of it. This one seems to be in good shape. Huh. Okay, all right, so let's plug in this information into COMPUTRON and let's compare it to what we have. Let's see here. Cold place. All right. So this one is also a 4-bed. It's 2.5 bath. 4-bed, 2.5 bathrooms, and it is 2,008 square feet. 2,008 square feet. What's the year build? Let's see what year it's built, guys. What year is it built? No, it actually doesn't say. It actually is not telling me what year it was built, which can happen sometimes. If I really wanted to, I could do some deep dive digging and try to figure out what year this is built. But we're going to assume it's within that plus or minus. It seems to be a reasonably similar type house, so I'm going to imagine it was probably built roughly around the same time. But you can, by all means, trust but verify. You know, if you're really making an offer on a property, you can actually do some deep dives, and maybe you can call the homeowner or the agent of this property and see what year it's built. You can do some digging. I'm not going to do that right now for the purpose of the demonstration, but we're going to assume it was built roughly around the same time. So, and since it sold for $344,000, relatively recently too. That's very good. It's very close and very recent. I think it was sold in April. So yeah, this is a fantastic comp. You know, not next door like we discussed, but it's pretty close, and it's in from what I can see, like, fantastic condition. So again, yeah, I would imagine this. Now, what this is telling me right now, based on the similarity of the houses. Let's see here. They're both 2-story properties. Yeah, they're both 2-story homes. Seems to be roughly built around the same time. I would have to verify that 100%. But this is actually a little bit smaller than the other house. It seems to me like he's asking quite a bit, just based on what COMPUTRON is showing me right now. And if I needed to, I can make adjustments for bedrooms, bathrooms. Like I could make an adjustment. Like I could subtract a bathroom. Like ours is a 3-bathroom, full 3-bath. This is the comparable property is like only 2.5 baths. So I could make an adjustment here if I wanted to, like up or down $10,000. I can't really add. I guess I would imagine like a half bath is probably worth like maybe like $5,000. But either way, like this guy is asking for $391. We're way above the asking price here already. I'm not. Now the cool thing about COMPUTRON is you can actually take into account like if repairs need to be made based on the square footage and the condition. This particular property doesn't really need any repairs made. But if it did, I could make adjustments for that. So it's between 1,500 and 2,500 square feet. So if it needed a light rehab, I can click that and it'll take that into account. Or if it was an average rehab meaning like it needs carpet, paint, kitchen and bath done. That's a pretty average rehab. It would probably end up being cost around $41,000 in that ballpark. It was a heavy rehab. It would be like around $83,000. 83. The heavy rehab meaning like it's a gut job. It needs to be completely gutted. And the cool thing is, these are rough numbers. Like if you were actually going to make an offer on a property, you want to get it inspected and find out exactly what's going on that property, and you can literally hand it off to a general contractor and say, "Hey, man, what would it take to make this rent ready, or what would it take to make it flip ready?" You know, and by flip ready, you can literally just find a great house in your neighborhood that's sold for a fantastic price and say, "Mr. General Contractor, make my house look just like this house. How much would that cost?" And just get some quotes. And it's simple math from that point. You know, it doesn't have to be rocket science. You know, make my house just like that house that sold for a great price, very fast. Make my house just like that. You just hand them the inspection report and say, "Hey, fix it." Doesn't have to be more complicated than that. But in any case, since these properties are in both seem to be in fantastic condition. I'm not gonna make a lot of adjustments for that. I'm not gonna make any adjustments for rehab costs because it seems to be like those are rent ready, move-in ready type houses. So I'm not gonna make any huge adjustments for rehab costs or anything like that. But if it was a distressed property, you absolutely could. So with that being said, all right, another thing I wanted to mention with COMPUTRON, you want to have more than one comp. You want to use more than one comparable property. And with COMPUTRON, you absolutely can. Like this one Brooke Nicole place is one particular comp. You want to give as many as possible because it's going to give you a clearer picture. The more properties you can find in your neighborhood that are similar to your property and find out the prices of those properties, the clearer the picture will be for you overall. Like Brooke Nicole place, for example, that's one comp. And then here on the second spreadsheet, you can do the same thing. Fill out the same information, find another property, another similar 4-bed, 3-bath property, and fill out the same information and find out what the ARV will be roughly on that property as well. And you can do that up to 3 times, I believe, on this the way I have it set up right now. So you can have multiple comps, and the more comps, the better. And that'll give you a clear picture of what the property is actually probably worth. I can tell you right now that this would not be a great investment property. We're way off the mark as far as like what this guy's asking for. He's asking $391. I think he himself bought it for like I want to say, I think I saw he bought it for. Let's see what he purchased it for. Yeah, he just bought it for $352, guys. So I don't know where we're getting $391 at all. But as an investor, you're going to be way underneath that. If I wanted to have some equity in the deal, I'm looking at maybe like, this is where you get, this is a cool thing about COMPUTRON. You can kind of play around with the numbers and see where you want to be. Like, as an investor, it's not a flip deal. I mean, it's a buy and hold. I personally believe in buy and hold single family houses. They don't have enough cash flow because it's just one unit and you're just renting out one particular unit. Unless you're doing maybe Airbnb or maybe like a pad split type deal. But for this particular property, I mean, to get some equity, you're gonna have to be in like, I don't know, man, 260s. You're gonna be way lower than where this guy is. We're not in the same stratosphere. And he's gonna hate your guts for making an offer like this. But if you want to have some equity of any sort, you're gonna be way lower than this guy. I'm thinking, yeah, in the 2s. The lower the better. It's not a flip. I mean, that's definitely not a flip on any level. But like, I would be in the 260s, somewhere lower than that probably. Maybe the 220s. Like, we're nowhere near like where he wants to be. It's not an investment property, and I didn't look for a distressed property on any level. But even at just as a brand new house, I mean, he's probably way over. I think he bought it high himself at $355. I believe he bought it for. His neighbor bought for like $344, sold for $344 recently. I mean, I think he probably bought it high himself. Now he's trying to turn around and sell it for like a profit margin, or at least, I guess, recoup his cost to purchase that home. That's probably what's going on there. So he's cranking that price up. So either way, we're way off the mark, as far as like being an investment property. But again, I didn't pick it as an investment property. It's not for that purpose. Any deal can become a great deal if you make it low enough price, make it a low enough offer. But yeah, it's not an investment offer. It's not an investment property. But it gives you some context of like how you can comp a property. And I hope that was helpful for you on some level, just because you can take this information and make logical decisions and say, hey, I want to have X amount of equity in this deal. And you can do that. You can structure the deal in a way that makes sense for you. And that's a cool thing of having like a tool like COMPUTRON. It's like you don't have to, it's like an x-ray. It just unveils the numbers and it allows you to see, hey, if I make this guy an offer, if I make this guy an offer of $260,000, I could turn around and sell it to somebody else, but I can keep the property and have like, $28,000 in equity. All right. Oh, so let's recap. So Batavia, he bought the property at like 3 in the 350s. I think it was 355 this past month. No, sorry, in April. And now he's turning around selling it for 391. I think they're doing that for whatever reason, being forced to sell quickly. Maybe they're transitioning to another gift. They have to relocate for work or something like that, perhaps. So what they're probably trying to do is recoup the cost that it took to acquire the property, like the closing costs and that type of thing. So they're cranking the price way up high and hoping somebody will lose their mind and buy that property way overpriced. That's what it looks like to me, because their neighbor's selling for like 344. They sold for 344 in April, around the same price, around the same time frame as they bought this house. So from what COMPUTRON is telling me, like a reasonable price for a property of that size and that condition is probably around 325. So if I'm looking at it as an investment property, even though it doesn't need any type of rehab, I'm still going to want to be way below that to have any type of equity. I'm looking in maybe like 260s, maybe 270s, so we're way far apart, obviously. I'm sure they wouldn't take that, but that's where you would want to be. And the cool thing about COMPUTRON, it just kind of gives you the option to look at how my different exit strategies. You can look at it multiple different ways, from making a rental offer to looking at it as a rental, looking at it as a flip. So that's the cool thing about COMPUTRON. Right now, I'm just looking at it as, what if I wanted to get some equity out of the deal? So I'm like at the 260s, 270 price range of where we want to be on this property. So I would get some equity in the deal. Obviously, that's not going to work for this particular seller, most likely. But hey, you never know. You just shoot your shot and see what happens. But in any case, so that's the power of COMPUTRON. And again, you can compare. You're going to want to compare multiple different properties. We looked at one comparable property. You're going to want to compare it like 2 or 3, maybe even 4 times. And you have the ability to do that with COMPUTRON. You can find other comps, plug them in, and get another ARV. ARV meaning after repair value. And the more ARVs you get, it gives you a range of where that property would land. And anyway, let's close out. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed this brief overview. I love talking about COMPUTRON. COMPUTRON! I love it. I love that software. It warms my heart because it took me so much time to develop it. And again, if you'd like to get a free copy of it, click the link in the description. We'll give you a free copy of COMPUTRON, and you can have at it. And we'll go dive it further into it down the road. I'll revisit it every now and then. Anyway, thanks so much for hanging out. And hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.